Hi guys, this is a video for the IT for business customers and prospects and anybody running a business who wants to know what they should be worried about in July and August of 2021. So let's kick off. Well, we're covering 4 points today. We're covering computers, we're covering your staff, the people in the IT world called users, the network and how your network's managed, and the information layers. It's four different layers really. First off, in business, it's basically Windows computers or Apple Mac computers for the vast majority of ordinary staff. Okay, and on any of these computers, there's five things you have to worry about. One is called patching, which is the applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all that kind of stuff, Outlook, and also the operating system, which is basically Microsoft Windows or the Apple Mac software, OS X or OS 10. The operating system looks after things like printing, opening files, saving files, connecting to the internet, all sorts of net stuff. All of this gets released and it's not fully tested by Apple or Microsoft or Invet or any of the companies who make software. They find holes and the hackers try and exploit these holes. So they're constantly fixing them. Every day patches come out and you need to have them managed for you properly. Second point, the old-fashioned viruses. Okay, this is called malware because it's evolved into being a bit more than what used to be just viruses. You have to have this managed for you every day on your computers as well. It's very boring, it's very dull, it's very necessary. Newish kid on the block is phishing. Phishing is the number one threat on the internet. It's about your login details being skimmed by tricking people into going to what they think is one thing when in fact it's something else. And you can have, I'm very keen on a product called Heimdall, which you install on your machine, and it jumps in there and stops you from going to some bad infected website. Very good. The IT help desk service, someone to call. Who do you call when there's a problem? Okay, now you might want to call me and I'll do my best to answer, but I'm not always available and I'm going on holiday sometimes. I really like those of my clients who've gone for the 24/7 service because it only costs £5 a month more than the 9 to 5 Monday to Friday service. And frankly, you don't know when you're going to need it, but for £5, it's probably worth having. You can call them as much as you like. Now, the newest kid on the block. This is the brand new item, ransomware. Ransomware attacks is the biggest threat hitting all businesses, big and small. And hot off the press, at last, there is a tool for protecting your computer against a ransomware attack. It's really important. It's really special. Okay, I'll come back to the exact details in a minute. Right, we're talking about people, users is the technical phrase. For office or remote staff, number one thing, turn on two-factor authentication. You can come back to me and I'll help you do that. Secondly, anti-phishing training. Okay, the training is watching the videos. The campaign is where I send out a fake campaign and I'm trying to trick your staff into clicking on it, and that will heighten their sense of awareness. They need to be more sensitive all the time. Now, the next thing that's new, I always had Office 365 monitoring, but I've discovered a brand new, much more sophisticated one. It covers for far more possibilities. It's very much focused on the workflow process that the hackers are trying to break and protecting you against that. Finally, a service I've always got access to is I can check to see if staff in your company using your domain, like for me, it's IT for Business UK, itforbusinessuk.com. I can check if staff have had their accounts phished and those are being sold on the dark web. I find that 1 in 4 of all the staff of all my clients have had this happen to them. It's pretty serious. Okay, network level. Not a lot to say here. Two things. One, if you're at home, you might have your Windows and your Apple computers doing your games and your browsing the internet, whatever. You've also probably got a heating system, and you might even have video surveillance cameras. And guess what? You've got your music system and your video streaming and all that kind of stuff, all on one big network. That's bad. So you should consider splitting your network in half, putting all the stuff like home management on one network, and just keeping your own Windows computers and Apple computers on a separate network. It's not hard to do. You just got to remember to do it. The other thing to think about is if you work at home, so your home internet connection is really important. You need a plan in advance if it fails. Now, I I must be the most reluctant iPhone ever. I bought an iPhone 5 because iPhone 12 because it has 5G. It means I can use my phone as a backup internet connection in case my landline fails at home. But you need to have thought it through. Okay, information. This is like the most interesting part of a very dull presentation. You need to get on top of your applications as a business, because what happens is with two-factor authentication, you can't borrow someone's login anymore. So that means if whichever staff need access to whichever applications, they all individually need access now. It has to be set up in advance, and you have to have a method for managing that. What if so-and-so leaves the company? Who's going to take over? Who's going to manage it? What if somebody new needs to have access? You need to have a policy and a procedure for all of this. Talking of which, GDPR. It's not very onerous for small companies, but the thing you do have to worry about is you must have a policy that's written which says how you are going to archive stale information. Now, in practical terms, that means once a year, you have a list of systems you will go through and evaluate any information that you no longer have a right to keep, and you will remove it. That's it. Having no procedure, having no evidence that you've got a procedure means a fail if you get inspected. And the only reason you'll get inspected if you're really small is probably an ex-employee who's disgruntled and reports you to the Data Commission. So you'd have to have this document, its evidence in place. Now, I mentioned policies, procedures. I've got a whole bunch now of brand new IT policies and procedures and some crucial systems that support them to do with managing your applications, managing your staff, managing your computers, managing cybersecurity threats. Anyone who's in a regulated industry, basically you have to have this kind of stuff, and nobody out there in the IT service world seems to be offering it. Anyway, it's important to have it. It will at least affect your insurance premium if you don't have it in a bad way. Right, the last, very dull, boring, is all my information backed up? Is every application's data backed up? But also, crucially, how are you going to recover if there's a problem? Recovery is much less of an issue when everything's in the cloud, because generally you could be anywhere and carry on working, but you still have to have it figured out. Finally, the really new kid on the block again is this Microsoft 365, which is basically Office 365 and associated services. I have an advanced system for monitoring that. It's I don't know if exciting is the right word, but it works instead of at a very technical kind of, is this happening? Yes, no, it works at a more workflow level. It's there, it's evolving all the time. It's figuring out, it's there to block malicious attackers trying to intercept your workflow. So that's a very important service. Okay, action time. What are you doing this month as the business owner? You need to do that applications list. You need to think about the IT policies that you ought to have in place and any supporting tools. And you need to turn on two-factor authentication. Now, all of this I've told you about in previous videos. The newest kids on the block are ransomware prevention, a brand new tool to install on your computer, £5 per user per month, well, per machine per month, jumps in there. It's like the silver bullet against ransomware. I've seen the demo, it's fantastic. As soon as the first file is touched by the ransomware attack software, the whole lot gets quarantined. It's brilliant. Nothing been like this. There's nothing like this as far as I know in the past. And in addition to that, this Office 365 advanced monitoring is really important. It's working at the level where we don't know what the next threat is going to look like from hackers. We don't know how they're going to figure out how a transactional process is going to be intercepted, and they're going to block one thing from coming through and insert their own. We can't anticipate every single possibility, but they're spending all their time doing it. So you need a tool which will flag up suspicious activity. So that's it, folks. Thanks for listening, and please come back to me with any questions. And on the ransomware, it's a no-brainer. You guys should be doing it.